Parliament remains gridlocked at this hour with government business on hold for days now as the opposition demands the release of unredacted documents related to a now defunct green tech fund that the Auditor General found was mired in conflict of interest issues. And the Liberals refused to comply, citing the protection of charter rights. The Liberals need at least one opposition party to play ball with them to end the filibuster debate and resume work in the House. And this, of course, is all playing out as the Liberals stare down the barrel of a tight Bloc Québécois deadline to meet demands like boosting old age security that so far the feds are not supporting. Their only other potential dance partner is the NDP, who have yet to put any demands, as you heard from Mr. Singh, on the table.
Have you asked for anything from the Liberals to say that you'll give them their support going forward if they meet some new demands, so that way they don't have to rely on the Bloc Québécois?
No.
Haven't asked for anything from them.
The ongoing discussions with the House Leader, that is normal, but there's been no discussion between me and the Prime Minister. There's been nothing I've been putting on the table, nor has the Prime Minister put on the table. I've said very clearly, we're not looking for a new deal. We tore up the agreement. There will be no new deal. We're not negotiating a new deal. There is nothing of that nature.
With us now is the person who negotiated the now ripped-up deal that saw the NDP support the Liberals for about 2.5 years in exchange for action on some key policy issues, including dental care and pharmacare. NDP National Director Anne McGrath is with us live. Hi, Anne. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Okay, help me understand. Mr. Singh was just saying I haven't put anything specific on the table. Let's separate the issues, the first being sort of the paralysis in the House right now. If the Liberals wanted to force closure on the debate that's happening right now, they would need another party to help them. Is the NDP entertaining discussions on that?
Well, I don't know what the discussions have been between the House leaders at all. I do know that there are ways out of this, but they require a little bit of maturity, I think, on the part of both the government and the opposition, the official opposition. I think that what's happening in the House right now is shameful, it's wasteful, it's a misuse of taxpayers' dollars, and I'm surprised that the Conservatives are actually doing what they're doing, because they're supposed to be the ones that are the big guardians of the public purse. And so, you know, and it's to no avail. It's not like they're getting anywhere with any of it. And the Liberals have these motions that were passed that are demanding the disclosure of documents, and they could do something about that. They could find a way to disclose the documents. So I personally think that the onus is on the government and the opposition to actually come to some kind of an agreement or something to actually move this forward. I can't imagine that either party wants this to, certainly the Liberals don't, but I don't know why the Conservatives would want to either. I think some of their supporters might be looking at this and wondering what the heck is going on.
I think, like, from what I can see, both parties are fairly dug in their position, and they're very different. The Conservatives are saying you're holding stuff back because you want to conceal what's in those documents. The Liberals are saying it would be a breach of charter rights if we did hand them over and set a precedent that we essentially don't want to set. And I think because of that impasse is why I direct the question at the NDP. Do I garner from your response that your party doesn't intend to wade in one way or the other?
We've been saying quite clearly that this is an abuse. This is childish. This is like playing in a sandbox. It's children, children playing in a sandbox. The Conservatives should stop this filibuster, this absolute paralysis that's set in, and the Liberals should comply with the motions that have been passed in the House of Commons. I think that that's pretty clear. And this is not the first time this has happened. I mean, it's accelerated to a particular point right now. But in the past, there have been situations like this, whether it was around We Charity or or foreign interference or any number of other things. I think that there is a tendency to withhold on the part of the Liberal government, and there is a tendency on the part of the Conservatives to be very dramatic and kind of flamboyant and a bit histrionic, in my view, in the way that they deal with that.
Just to be clear, though, if the Liberals want the NDP's help to force closure without handing over those documents, is the NDP prepared to talk about that, or is that ruled out?
I don't think this is an area where, we're definitely not involved in any negotiations. I think that people have been asking about that. There are no negotiations going on with anyone, actually, right now. But we are playing our role, which is, as has historically been our role, which is to be the adults in the House. So I'm quite confident that our House Leader and our whip will be having discussions with the other parties to see if there is a way out of this impasse.
Separating the impasse from the larger context against which we're discussing all of this, which is whether or not the government actually stays in power or whether there's an early election. Are you involved in conversations about in exchange for more policy priorities that your party would identify, supporting the government to ensure that there is not an election?
Well, in a traditional minority parliament, which is what we were in before the confidence and supply agreement, there were moments where there were matters of confidence before the House, and we pushed the government to either do more or do something else. And in exchange for that, we did end up voting confidence. Right now, we have some very important measures that we've been pushing for that we want to see accomplished. You know, the negotiations with the provinces around the Pharmacare Act that is being passed, further development of the dental care program, and then there's a whole bunch of other things that I think are really important there. Prior to the confidence and supply agreement, when COVID was on, for instance, the Liberals proposed very inadequate payments for CERB, and we fought to have that doubled. And so, you know, we were able to accomplish some things in that period of time. So you can accomplish things inside and outside of an agreement. And right now we're focused on accomplishing things probably a bit more publicly. And we intend to see Parliament, our hope is that Parliament can actually act on things that are important to Canadians, like improving health care.
So let me ask you then more specifically, because I get in general terms the priorities that you've identified, and there's stuff that your party has talked about and Mr. Singh has talked about frequently. The reason I guess I'm asking at this juncture is because of what the Bloc has so specifically stipulated and laid on the table. And they have said if it doesn't come true, which it seems like it's not going to, that they're going to work with other parties to bring down the government, which leaves your party as the one that would support the government to keep them in power. The accusation, for example, from the Tories is that you're going to do that no matter what, because there's no way you're prepared to fight an election, and that you'd lose, if, you know, in a big way if the election were to happen anytime soon. Is there going to be some sort of public, proclaimment by Mr. Singh that, like a la Mr. Blanchet, this is what we want in exchange, or are you just going to keep supporting them?
Well, I think what we've seen from what Mr. Blanchet has done is that he's shown them to be a bit of a paper tiger. All the way through this Parliament, they have accomplished nothing for Quebec, which is their constituency. They've accomplished absolutely nothing. And now they have kind of, I think, mishandled this entire situation by putting an arbitrary deadline, by not negotiating, by actually, just by the way that they've done all of this. And I think it's going to backfire on them. I think in terms of...
But maybe they're not afraid of going to an election.
I don't think they want to go to an election. I don't think that's. I think the only ones in the House that really want to go to an election are the Conservatives, probably. But I don't think that that's the case. I don't think it's that. I think it's that they don't necessarily have the inclination to figure out how to actually get something done. And I think this deadline it's an arbitrary, ridiculous deadline in my view. And I think that they've just mishandled the entire thing.
So again, though, circling back to what I asked, though, is there going to come a point, putting the deadline aside, at which your party is going to stipulate specifically for Canadians what you expect in exchange for your support? And again, I'll frame it against the backdrop of there are a lot of Canadians right now who do not support the government, who would like a chance to voice that. The criticism levied at your party is you don't have enough money to go to the election. You're polling, yes, better than you were a few weeks ago before that deal was ripped off. But still, that same poll that showed you ahead of the Liberals outside of Quebec put you 23 points behind or 24 points behind the Conservatives nationally. Is there going to be a point in time which you say exactly to Canadians what you expect in return, or are you just going to keeping the Liberals in power?
I will just say for the record, we are completely debt-free. We have actually more money than we had in the last 2 elections.
But your fundraising is very low compared to the Conservatives. 9.8 million between April and June.
Everybody's is low compared to the Conservatives.
Okay, fair point. But still, it's essentially another proof point that you don't want to go to an election.
Not necessarily, no. I mean, I've been in elections where we have won and spent like 10 times less than the party that was supposed to win. So I mean, money is important, and I think you have to fundraise, you have to do all of that kind of work. But it's not the only indicator of success. If you look back, for instance, at 2011 when we won 103 seats. We were not spending at nearly the level of any of the other parties. So it's not just about money in elections. We are ready to go to an election. We have always been ready to go into an election. I have never known us not to be ready to go into an election. And we're ready now. I don't think that's the issue. I think that the issue is what is the best thing for Canadians? What can we accomplish?
Will you make that clear to Canadians, like what you would like to accomplish with the power that this impasse with the Bloc is going to grant you, essentially?
I think we're going to have to. I think that, and I mean, we have always been very, very clear with Canadians about what our priorities are and what we want. We've done it in majority parliaments, minority parliaments, and in parliaments like the one that we've just come through.
So is it coming soon? Will Mr. Singh be giving us a different answer than the one he has the past few days anytime soon?
Well, I think he's giving you the answer which is where we're at right now. And actually right now, as I said, there's no negotiations going on. I think like most Canadians, we're watching what's happening in Parliament with a little bit of disbelief. Like there are actually not really words to describe how ridiculous this situation is. I watched parts of the Public Accounts Committee yesterday. Don't ask me why.
I was going to say, what a barn burner of a day, Anne.
I know, but it's unbelievable. I mean, I just think that if I were a Conservative MP, which thank God I never have been and never would be, but if I were, I would be probably, kind of pushing back against being asked to do the kinds of things that they're doing in committee and in the House.
I mean, just quickly, I think their sense is that they really believe that the Liberals are withholding something that covers up a level of corruption. That's the sense I get from them, and the Liberals really believe that they would be setting a dangerous precedent by handing those documents.
Well, and as I said, there's a way out of this. They can hand over documents. The Liberals can hand over documents, and if they don't, there is a question about whether or not there is something to hide. That's always the case, right? If you don't disclose, the question is why won't you disclose? So they can do something about this. But the Conservatives are dealing with it, I think, in a way that doesn't bring any credit to their party.
Okay, I'm going to leave it on that note. Anne, a pleasure to see you. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thank you.